I almost tweeted this out. I almost said, if you know a small business owner, give them a hug today. Their tariffs were 25% and they jumped to 50%. Just overnight, it becomes really hard to make it.
Everybody you're involved with comes ahead of you. They get paid first. You're taking all the risk. It's not okay to not make money.
You're seeing us at our worst, and I want you to see how we respond in our worst.
This is an opportunity to prove that we're good to our word.
Your reputation is almost everything. Behave properly at all times.
Expert advice, practical tips, real-life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cash Flow Contractor.
So I was having yesterday, I almost tweeted this out. I almost said, if you know a small business owner, give them a hug today. Because I had three different things come up. One was talking to someone who has a ton of their production in Mexico. And this past Friday, Trump, their tariffs were 25% and they jumped to 50% for steel. And just overnight, like, okay, well, we're bringing in a new shipment and it's a $90,000 shipment. And so we just paid $45,000 to the U.S. government.
Yeah.
And
we did an episode on tariffs just a few weeks, I don't know how long ago. But
yeah.
I was actually I heard a snippet from it, which is why I remember it really well.
Yeah.
But you don't have to know much about tariffs to know that they're just stupid. And I feel comfortable saying that because guys like Adam Smith identified them and Frederick Bastiat. And there are places, where you don't want to punish somebody for doing something bad, actors like Chinese stealing all your intellectual property, but they are a tax on us. We are the ones who pay the tariffs.
Well, and I think that's a hard thing as a small business owner. For this specific person, they're in kind of a higher end market, and things already cost quite a bit, and they do get pushback when they raise prices. So to raise it, and they've been eating the tariffs up to 25%. They've just been kind of handling it themselves. They've been doing some things with their suppliers in Mexico to try to, get it taken down. But for the most part, they're eating that cost. But now you start eating a 50% increase in your cost of goods sold, it becomes really hard to make it.
They call it untenable. And besides, I'm impressed if they could absorb a 25% increase. They must have some pretty good margins.
They do have good margins. But
so they're greedy
anyways,
capitalists.
Well, I mean, that's one thing. So the next thing that came up, someone we know got a really great client. It's a builder they do subcontracting work for, and high-end builder works with, really great clientele in the billions of dollars of net worth, and gets his first job with them. If he succeeds, he knows they've had conversations about it turning into multiple projects every year, essentially. He outsources some of his drafting.
I think I know who we're talking about because I had a long conversation with him yesterday. Yeah,
me too. So I had this conversation with him, and essentially the drafter, it does, good for him. But there was a huge mistake that he made on this project. And so essentially he shows up to install with the builder there, all this kind of stuff, and it just doesn't fit the measurements. Yeah. And that's just a short way of describing what happened, but I mean, just gets chewed out.
There was a great takeaway from that yesterday. Mm-hmm. Having lived through exactly that before with products we built, completely wrong, disaster, messes up somebody else's timeline. The person we're talking about, one of his statements was, "I've lost this client. He bombed this major league client." I said, not necessarily so. If you behave properly, that's not a warranty, but let's call it a warranty. Behave properly. Don't try to throw somebody under the bus. Say, look, I'm on it. This is unfortunate. I see what happened. We're on it. and we're going to make this right. And
Yeah.
they're going, was it the last time you'll ever set foot? All that kind of stuff. There's a very good chance that it goes away and you keep the customer because you behaved properly. And
That's exactly what I told him. I said, hey,
Yeah.
listen, when you talk to him, you say, listen, I'm going to do whatever. He already said all this stuff, but I'm going to do whatever I can to make this right. And I want you to know that you're seeing us at our worst, and I want you to see how we respond in our worst.
yeah,
And from here on out, you are going to get our absolute best.
yeah.
So I don't know what your experience is like with other contractors at their worst, but I want to make this the best experience possible when it's at our worst.
Yeah.
So that now you can trust us. If things go wrong, you'll know how you get treated.
In that company I was talking about where we used to sell machinery and they would sometimes fail, is always a big ass disaster, Cost us about $70,000 to fix. It was a hydraulic system. If something blows up in a hydraulic system, you got to clean or replace everything because fine material goes through and it can't tolerate that and all that. Then we go out there and do that. We just told ourselves, this is an opportunity to prove that we're good to our word. And we just kept repeating that until we got in a trance. This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity. What a great opportunity. I don't want any more opportunities like this. But yeah, you don't necessarily lose them. You might, and maybe probably, I don't know, but behave properly at all times. And a lot of times
I think that whenever you go into these situations, as a small business owner, it feels like the end of the world. Like it really does. And I don't want to downplay that because when you've got this opportunity ahead of you for multiple projects and the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's going to be a great contact that's going to lead to new contacts and it is going to bolster your reputation, and it does the exact opposite, where now your best clientele knows that you screwed up on this job in a huge way and this builder's never going to use you again, and they're super upset, and you made the most basic mistake of getting measurements wrong and not just like a little bit wrong, like really wrong.
Actually, he didn't. The proper directions were on the drawings.
No, I know.
Yeah,
but
he just cut them wrong.
Yeah, they were cut. Yeah,
But
the
he did
measurements
not. He did not throw the guy under the bus. He
didn't. And I think that's important. You
Yeah,
take
that
accountability as the business owner, not saying, oh, well, it's that guy's fault. No, it's your responsibility. You take ownership. And it just feels like such a gut punch. I mean, you feel awful and you're sitting there just taking it all. And it's tough because you're thinking about what is this going to do for our reputation? And I think that's a really big point is as a small business owner, your reputation is almost everything. It really is. And that's why you do have to behave properly at all times, right?
This brings to mind, it's kind of changing the subject, but not much. And that is something I've been thinking a lot about, I've written about, I'm going to be speaking about in the future, is that business owners are the source of all abundance, right? I mean, they are. We don't have to prove that, but anybody wants to debate it, we can do that. But it's from a portion of profits that everything comes, right? The armies, legal system, pharmaceutical, healthcare, education, roads, everything comes. And that means that business really is the source of abundance, the earthliest source. I've said that before.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've been thinking about is when you're the business owner, you get up in the morning and you shoulder your burdens with absolutely no guarantee that you will be paid. Everybody you're involved with comes ahead of you. Your suppliers, the taxes, your employees, your customer, everybody comes ahead of you. They get paid first. If there's anything left over, you might get paid.
Yeah.
They get their share in cash. If you make your profit, very often it's not cash. It's tied up in inventory and receivables and all the things that we talk about. And the reason I bring that, and this is another example, something goes wrong. It's not even the guy's fault who screwed up. It's our guy's fault. And no guarantees. And the reason I bring that up is It's not okay to not make money in your business. If you're like many people, hopefully you're not, but there are people listening who take draws and don't take a salary and don't always take a draw because they don't always have cash. That is not okay. You're taking all the risk and you're benefiting others with a 7% profit deal. 93% of what you do is going to somebody else. 7% comes to you before taxes. Everybody else benefits. You take all the risk. It is not okay that you are not compensated for that. And so the reason that came up in my mind was this man we're talking about took the risk of that. I mean, that's all his risk. It's on him.
Yeah.
He's got to fix it. It's going to cost him. It already cost him. It's going to cost him again. And it's on him. If you're listening out there and you're lowballing your prices and all that, don't do it. You've got to make enough money to justify all that risk that you're taking. It's just not okay to not make money. So I've chewed you out. Now go forth to make money.
No, it's true. It's people don't. I think it's really good to collect those stories of risks, like the tariff stuff that we mentioned, and like this, things blow up because someone you've outsourced drawings to that you've trusted for years and has done a great job makes a massive mistake in one of the biggest opportunities. Collect those stories so that when you're talking to the great employee who wants to go out on their own, like, hey, I'll support you in that. I just want to let you know some of the risks that are ahead, and you can avoid those by staying with us and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quick ad break to tell you a little bit about OpenPhone. If you're a contractor that has a single cell phone, you're probably inundated with text messages and phone calls, oftentimes that you can't be responsive to or that you can't answer at all. So what's the solution? You can buy another office line with Verizon or AT&T, and you can have an iPhone that is passed around from employee to employee, depending on who's on call. But what if there's a better way? What if there's a way that you can have all your phone calls recorded to go back and listen to later, transcribed with summaries so that you can get a quick glance at what happened during the phone call, and even connect it to your CRM where all your other customer information is? OpenPhone is the perfect solution because it does just that. You're able to add all the users you need to for whoever needs to have access to the lines for your company phone. And then you can also find all of the information you need at a glance with a centralized location for all phone calls and text messages with your customers. Whether it's for marketing, for sales, or for service, OpenPhone is the perfect solution for you and your team. If you're interested, we have an offer down the show notes from OpenPhone. Please click the link down the show notes, or you can see it here on your screen to be able to find more information about OpenPhone. Thanks for listening. Back to the episode. I think, so this is the one that I really want to talk about. I talked about tariffs. I talked about the shoddy job by the outsourced drafter. I was talking to a good friend, started a company with a partner 4 or 5 years ago. Everything's great. They're excited, they're ambitious, they're hungry. They do a really good job of growing the business, millions in revenue, and hire a GM to do a lot of the stuff that they don't want to do as owners, essentially, right? They want to step out, they want to be higher level. And the GM decides that just where he's at in life, he needs to step down and just go back to being a salesperson, project manager. And so now these two owners are tasked with the responsibilities of doing the GM work until they can find someone to replace that GM, and they don't have a good candidate. So now they're they're splitting it, 2 weeks on of GM, 2 weeks off of GM between the two of them, right? And it's not going well. It's really not going well. I think part of that's probably some complacency with not having to be a GM for a while and then having to go back into the weeds. But they also have two very different approaches.
I was going to say there are probably some consistency issues there just jumped to mind immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah. And it's okay. You don't have to know. But one, hands-on, very engaged in the office every day, or if not in the office, out in the field training new employees. Part of the problem with this business in the last 4 or 5 years, they've had 30 plus people turnover, like join and leave, join and leave, join and leave. And most of them are going out and starting their own businesses, right, as competitors to theirs, which is unfortunate. And after talking to one of the ones who just left, like very recently, he's realizing that they're leaving. A lot of them are leaving because of the partner, because of how he treats them, of how he's unresponsive, of how he's not engaged. And so he's trying to have conversations with his partner about some of these things, like, hey, we need to hire a GM. No, I think we can just do it ourselves. And that's obviously not working with this 2 on, 2 off. Hey, we need to do a better job of training our employees. Well, I'm not going out in the field with these guys. Hey, we need to hire some more people. Well, I don't want to do that right now. And it just brought hey, let's talk about partnerships. And we've talked about this before, how, what's the famous saying, like the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership, right? And how you can go through a honeymoon phase in the beginning where you're both aligned on building a company and growing it. But then when you kind of get settled into like the everyday of this is our business and it's at this point and we're getting a good salary and we, have people running some of the stuff. Well, what does that actually look like? Do you have differences of opinion of, should we grow? Should we hire more? Should we build more systems? Should we do more marketing? Should we try to expand into other areas? And then the other person is actually just enjoying where they're at and they get to be home a lot of the time, So I guess my question to you, Martin, what would be your approach if you're in the middle of this partnership? And you can choose either one, but if you're one of those partners, what's the best way forward?
Oh, no problem there. Well, one of the best ways, we've talked about the partnership thing in the past. That actually is one thing I think we need to revisit in the near future, just to keep that relevant. The other thing in passing is, according to Christine Sexter I can't remember, anyway, she works with employees, motivating employees. The number one demotivator of and reason people leave a job is unclear expectations. That's over 53% of the responses are, that's why I left. And no greater place of unclear expectations than 2 bosses that are not on the same page.
Yeah.
One guy's there for 2 weeks, you behave this way. The other guy's there 2 weeks, you behave that way. Anyway, terrible situation. Here's what I would do. I would say, go to the partner, the rational partner, goes to the irrational partner and says, I'm wanting to sell my share of the business. Here's what I'll take for it. If you would rather sell to me, that's what I'll pay you for it. And of course, they don't have to do that. The time to do that's in the partnership agreement. But that's one way to.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
In the partnership, a lot of the issues in a partnership are actually
exist.
things, need to happen in the partnership agreement before you start the business.
Yeah. I mean, so what are you going to do today is what you're going to do is learn that you're never going to do that again. And if we do, I think we should do the partnership thing again, but you have to have the difficult conversations in front of a competent, and I say counsel, somebody who's been through things and can ask divorce, death, dissolution, disinterest. You need more money. Well, I didn't sign on to put in more money. I'm like, distributions, who does what work? You've got to decide that stuff. And the reason there are 2 reasons I think that most people don't decide that stuff early. One is cost. They go, well, I got to go to an attorney and that's expensive. Yeah, well, it isn't anything like what it costs you if you don't go to an attorney. And the second thing is they don't want to have the difficult conversations. Well, we're buddies. I hate to tell him. I mean, I'm not doing this unless I'm the managing partner. I make the decision. I'm not going to do it otherwise. But but you go tell the other guy, I'm going to be the manager. Well, no, you're not. I'm not going to do that. Well, fine. Then we're not doing it. But you got to figure that stuff out up front. And that's a hard thing to do. But if you don't do that, it's going to be way harder when money and resentment get involved, 5 years down the road where the company's worth something.
Well, and that's the big question is like, is the company really worth something if you're losing all of your employees all the time, I think I agree with your approach. I also think it's not just that you need to go in and say, hey, I think we need to, I'm ready to sell to you for this price. If you don't want to buy it, I'll buy it for you from that price. Yeah. I think you have to walk into that conversation ready to just walk away. Now that sucks. I'm not saying that that's like,
well, there's a lot of details can be involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of details that you need to understand about the business. I get that, but you need to go in ready to have a heavy loss.
Yeah.
But I think that your loss today is much less than what you will lose if you continue going through this cycle of stress and misalignment and, unclear expectations, all these different things. And so it's easier to just say, hey, at least mentally, I'm ready to step away from this and take a huge loss. And then go into it trying to get the best out of it that you can within reason, but with the understanding that you're willing to just step away, because I firmly believe this person could go out on their own and just redo everything. Yeah, it would take a little bit of time, but they're completely capable of doing a much better job on their own. So yeah, partnerships got to start up front. And here's the other thing that I said, because the rational one does want to make it work, right? He's okay with staying in the partnership and making it work. It's not his preference. He would like to buy the other person out. But I said, if the partnership's going to work, it's no different than a marriage. If you're not communicating, if you're not talking and having real, authentic, vulnerable, honest conversations, it's not going to work. Nothing matters, right? You can kind of come up with little, hey, I'm going to do 2 weeks. You're going to do 2 weeks. Hey, I'm going to do all 4 weeks. You can do all these things. But if you're not talking, you're not solving the root problem, right? And so you have to talk. You've got to make sure that and it's not just a talk. It's talking constantly. Just like me and my wife go on a weekly date, you and your partner need to go on a weekly meeting and have segments of that meeting where you're talking about the difficult things. You're going over your numbers, you're going over direction, you're going over goals, you're going over vision, you're talking about employees, right? Like those are extremely important things that will help you to avoid these issues when they come up, but also have a very clear understanding of where you guys stand and being aligned. And if you're not doing that, if one person's not willing to jump on the phone, then this is a ship that's not going to sail.
Yeah. No, I guess the real answer was, what would I do? I'd go back in time and create a partnership agreement that addressed all the problems we're having. Now, failing that, I'm thinking of a couple that I'm intimately acquainted with, because I was a participant in them. And when people are on different pages, it's tough, and it can get mean pretty quick. Not necessarily physical, but so it's a little advance warning that don't get yourself in that position. I think we do need to do that again, whether you do it next week or not. But why do people get into partnerships? That they can recognize why they're doing it and say, well, is that, to think beyond.
Yeah. No, it's a great topic, and an important one for people that are starting or people that are in partnerships. It's always harder whenever you're in the middle of it to figure it out. But if you're on good terms, like go back and revisit your operating agreement and see if you can cover some of these clauses in your partnership before things go sour, right? Those are the three things that made me think like, hey, you need to go give a small business owner a hug today.
Quick ad break to tell you about Growth Kits. This is actually my company, and you may have seen it around, but I started Growth Kits because I kept seeing contractors struggle with the same problems over and over again. They were trying to be better organized inside of their business, but kept drowning in the day-to-day operations. So whether you need a better CRM, a hiring process that actually works, or you just want to make sense of the tech stack inside of your business, we have systems that are built specifically for contractors. You can either grab our DIY guides and implement these systems yourself, or you can hire us to work with you on it and implement it for you. No massive consulting fees, no year-long commitments or monthly retainers. Just pick what you need right now and let's get it done together. Head over to growth-kits.com to see how we can help you construct your success one system at a time. That's growth-kits.com, or just click the link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
I think something else that I'm thinking about right now, we did an episode that went live, I guess, a couple weeks before this one on AI. I'm really thinking about getting like a construction AI service going where we go in, set up the foundation of how you're going to be capturing all of your data from conversations, from your workplace communication, from your emails, from your calendar, from your project management system, your CRM, all that kind of stuff. Make sure that you've got data. It doesn't have to be super organized, but that you're actually capturing that stuff. And then on a weekly basis, just generating new processes and ways of implementing AI into your processes using that data. I feel like there's just such an opportunity for construction companies to improve their operations very easily by just having their data and then introducing AI into their processes with that data. So if that's of interest to anybody out there that's listening to this episode, and you're like, hey, I use AI, but I'm just chatting with ChatGPT, but I know there's possibilities. Reach out. I'd love to talk. And I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that we're doing right now that'll probably change the way that you're operating your business and likely decrease your workload by hours every week. So
yeah, and they should reach out, because it's just like me, until you've seen something actually happen and you go, wow, I'm doing all kinds of things that I never would have thought I would, never heard of, never wondered about. And every day, not every day, but close, I realize there's something else. I don't know how to do that, so maybe I'll put it off. Well, why don't you ask how to do it? Oh, how should I do this? How should I interact with you, Chat or Claude? Or anyway, and it's, oh, okay. And anyway, there's another project I'm thinking about that involves AI that was kind of exciting. So, but it's a secret.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it yet.
Oh, okay. Secret. Martin's got secrets.
Because I may not do it. I don't want to put it out there if I don't do it.
Well, we're loosely helping you. I say loosely helping you. We're helping, but not as much as we typically have been. Last couple of weeks I've been out of town and stuff, but we helped you hire an assistant. Martin's finally got an assistant, Yenny.
Yeah, she's
How are
great.
things? It's good. It's been a month now.
Yeah, it's been maybe 6 weeks. Something
6
like
weeks.
that. Yeah.
Maybe give us what's different about Martin today that was not the case 6 weeks ago.
The question that I had is the same question everybody has when I talk about an assistant. Well, I don't know what I'm going to have him or her do, right? And because I need to do this, I need to do that. Well, I've dumped off a lot of my processes that I have around coaching sessions to Yenny. And then I've found that that's content that's valuable for writing articles and coming up with lessons and things to talk about. There's some other projects on the horizon that AI will be instrumental in and save me maybe a year's worth of effort. We'll see. I'm going to explore it. Plus, it's easy to do writing. And if I want to write an article, I can just have a conversation with somebody about the topics in that article, correct myself if I misspeak, and bring the last paragraph up to the, reference the first paragraph, do all those kind of things that make writing really hard, but just do them in a conversation. Then AI will order it for you. And that, so I'm just talking and I can wind up writing an article from having talked, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's that kind of thing so far.
Well, and I think with all of the different ways that you can be using AI, well, I don't have the time to, like, I'm in meetings, I'm running here, I'm doing this, whatever it is. I would love to start using AI, but I don't have the capacity or the time to sit down and actually execute with it. And that's where your assistant, from my perspective, is helping a lot with that, where it's like, oh, like I can,
she's doing
she
it
can
all.
research it, she can try it out, or once I build it, she can be the one that's going and doing it. And, eventually you want to be in an automated state, but before you get to that, she's doing a lot of that for you.
Well, this is not particularly sophisticated either, but most of the stuff has been writing and content kind of issues.
Marketing stuff,
and creating some systems. But also, I have some big Excel spreadsheets, not particularly intricate, but big. And I used to have to do some work with them that I could have coded early on and didn't. But so it would take me a couple hours to get the numbers. I thought, I just download them, I stick them in chat, tell it what I want. About 15, 20 seconds later, it gives it to me.
Wow.
So I just literally put the spreadsheet in there, uploaded it, and said, I want to know this. You can do that with your financials. You can say, what's the trend on my cash? What's the trend on my sales? What's the trend on my margins? Something more AI-like would be to take last year's 3 financial statements, put them in and go, hey, Claude, what top 5 things would you want to tell the owner of this business to look out for based on these financials? And it'll go tell you. Say, give me 5 more. It's like your cash is diminishing or your coverage ratio is going down, which may not know what that is, but it can, what your break even has changed, or you've got your debt to equity, your ability to, not debt to equity coverage ratio, but your ability to generate enough profit to pay your debt service, the ratio is going down. And you may think, well, I already know that because I feel it, but you'll see it printed out and this is what's happening. Or it may not be happening and you think you know it, but you're wrong. So you can just do that. Hey, what should I know based on these financials? Throw it in there and see what it says. And if it comes back with answers you don't understand, say, I don't understand. What's that mean? How can I use that? What good is that information? That's interesting, but how can I use it, right? And it'll tell you. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff there. We'll have to go into some more use cases at some point. But yeah, I think the combination of having an assistant and AI, there's so many different improvements you can make to your business and to your role as owner. Just so much leverage right there. So, well, let's wrap up there, Martin.
Okay.
Thanks for chatting. It's always
you're
good
going
to
write down and
you.
remember that we're going to talk about partners next time, right?
Or AI is going to take the transcript of this podcast and tell us that we need to talk about partnerships. Yeah. We'll get there. But
okay, man.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Okay. See ya.
See you next time.
You made it to the end of the episode, but before you go, if you found yourself thinking about growing your construction business while listening today, I want to share something with you. It's called our 24 Things to Hiring and Training the Perfect Executive Assistant for Your Construction Business. And it's a free guide that we've created. It's not theory. It's what we actually use to help contractors hire the perfect executive assistant. And really, we help you find ways to delegate over 50% of your current workload and get back 20 hours of your time every single week. You didn't start your construction business to just be doing admin work, to be buried in paperwork and endless admin tasks. This is the guide that shows you exactly how to find and train someone who can actually take all that weight off of your shoulders. So this is a real actionable, great PDF that has templates and processes. It's really, really great. And I want you to check it out, even just to get your feedback and how we can make it even more valuable. But I know that you're gonna love it. The link is in the show notes. Please download it. We'd love to see how much of an impact it makes on you and your business. Thanks for listening to the full episode. Check out the guide. It's free. No reason to hesitate, no reason to wait. Download it now. And before you go, I just want to ask for your gracious subscription to our podcast. So if you have 2 seconds, it means the world to us. Just subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or if you'd like our weekly newsletter delivered to your inbox whenever we release an episode, please subscribe in the show notes. Every week, we're talking about real strategies on how you can grow and build a profitable construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, and more money. Click subscribe wherever you listen to the show, and thank you again for checking out the Cashflow Contractor. See you on the next episode.